All right, let's get into it. You know, when we talk about the green transition, our minds usually jump to shiny solar panels, massive wind turbines, or electric cars, right? But what if I told you one of the biggest weapons in the fight for climate neutrality is actually hidden right beneath our feet? We're talking about smart thermal networks, and they are the unsung heroes of Europe's green future.
So, why are these underground networks such a big deal? Well, look at this number, 50%. That is the slice of the EU's entire energy consumption that goes into just one thing, heating and cooling. That's right, half of everything. It's a truly staggering figure, and it really puts the sheer scale of this challenge into perspective.
And that brings us to what you could call Europe's hidden energy giant. We spend so much time talking about the power grid and transportation, but we often overlook this massive, invisible system that we all depend on to stay warm in the winter and cool in the summer.
So, here's the bottom line. Dealing with this giant isn't just a side quest, it's the main event. Decarbonizing our heat is an absolutely essential part of the European Green Deal. Honestly, without a green solution for heating, those big climate goals, well, they just aren't going to happen.
Okay, so how do you tackle a giant? Well, you have to get smart. The answer lies in completely rethinking our approach to heating and cooling. And that's where the smart heat solution comes in.
So what exactly is a smart thermal network? Well, you can think of it as the next evolution of something called district heating and cooling, or DHC. But this isn't just a simple upgrade. It's a whole new playbook. It works at much lower, more efficient temperatures. It's built from the ground up to use renewables, and this is key to capture waste heat from places like factories or data centers. And most importantly, it's not just a one-way pipe sending out heat. It's a dynamic, two-way grid that's an active part of the whole energy system.
And this slide really nails the difference. Think of old district heating like an old-school landline phone. It did one thing, one way. It just blasted super hot steam from a big, central plant that was probably burning fossil fuels. Smart thermal networks? They're like the internet for heat. It's a whole web that can pull in heat from all kinds of sources. Geothermal, solar, industrial leftovers, and it's all digitally optimized to run at lower temperatures, which saves a ton of energy.
Now, this isn't some far-off futuristic dream. This transition is happening right now, as we speak. So let's check out Europe's progress report and see where things really stand today. And the deployment is already massive. I mean, right now, there are 19,000 of these grids supplying energy to 80 million citizens across Europe. So this isn't a pilot project. This technology is already working at a continental scale.
So, who are the big players? Well, this chart lays it out perfectly. Poland, Germany, and Sweden are the absolute powerhouses here. Together, they account for almost 80% of all the district heat produced in the EU. This huge established infrastructure is the perfect foundation for this smart upgrade. And here's the stat that really shows the progress. As of 2023, renewables and waste heat already make up over 44% of the fuel mix in Europe's systems. And get this, that share jumped by more than 9% in just a single year. That shows this trend is not just happening, it's speeding up. So, we've been using this word smart, but what are the actual pieces of technology that make these networks smart? Let's pop the hood and take a look inside.
The smart part really comes from a cocktail of cool tech. You've got large-scale heat pumps that are amazing at grabbing low-temperature heat and boosting it up. You have thermal energy storage. Think of them as giant batteries for heat that let the system store energy when it's cheap, like on a really windy day, and then release it when demand is high. And the whole thing is run by a digital brain of AI, sensors, and smart meters, constantly optimizing the flow of energy.
And here's the great news. Most of the physical hardware, the pumps, the pipes, the storage tanks, it's all technologically mature. It's basically off-the-shelf stuff, ready to go. The real cutting edge, where the innovation is happening now, is in getting all those pieces to work together seamlessly. You could say we have all the instruments. Now we're just perfecting the AI conductor to make them play in harmony.
But of course, a revolution this big is never easy. It's not all smooth sailing. There are some pretty significant roadblocks slowing down the rollout of these critical networks across Europe. And the hurdles are probably what you'd expect. High upfront costs, the need for stable government policies, and tricky energy prices. But there's one challenge on this list that stands out as especially urgent, and it has nothing to do with tech or money. It's a people problem. There is a massive, widespread shortage of the skilled workers you actually need to build and maintain these systems. The green transition isn't just about good ideas. It depends on having trained people to do the work. And this quote really drives it home. The numbers are stark. You can have the best plans in the world, but without the welders, plumbers, and technicians to make it real, well, they're just going to stay plans.
But despite these challenges, and this is a big but, Europe isn't just in the race, it is firmly in the lead. So let's see how Europe's efforts really stack up on the world stage.
Wow, I mean, the contrast here is just night and day. While the EU is getting close to a 50-50 split between renewables and fossil fuels, the global average, which is dominated by huge systems in China and Russia, is still almost 90% dependent on fossil fuels. Europe is truly paving the way for the next generation of heat.
And this leadership isn't just about using the tech, it's about making the tech. Heat exchange units are one of the core components here, and this chart shows that the EU supplies nearly half of the entire global export market. That means European companies aren't just solving a problem at home. They're building the tools the rest of the world is going to need. That's a huge economic opportunity, if they can solve that workforce problem.
And that brings us to the final critical question. There's no doubt the EU is at the bleeding edge of the smart heat revolution. It has the technology, it has the ambition, and it's leading the market. But the biggest question mark that remains is this: can it train the army of skilled workers it desperately needs to turn that leadership into a reality and actually cross the finish line?